So this is the top view of the vortex when I'm looking at the vortex from the top. Okay, so you have a vortex core which is shown here. You have a vortex core which has a diameter of 2 xi. This is the core of the vortex in which magnetic flux is present. And outside the vortex in the superconducting region, there are shielding currents which actually screen the magnetic field which is present in the interior of the vortex, and this screening currents are extending out to a distance which is the penetration depth lambda. They are present only up to lambda. After that there are no shielding currents. So what we can do is, let us consider a path which is shown in green out here, a path whose radius is much larger than the lambda, okay, the superconducting penetration depth. Okay, and let us calculate how much is the flux which is present. If I use this path to calculate how much flux is present inside the vortex, then what does it turn out to be? So let us look at this calculation. Okay, and for this calculation I will just mention it to you. Okay, that if you recall that we had discussed that the superconductor is treated as one single entity. It's a macroscopic quantum state, so you describe it with phi, where one single wave function is the same for all particles inside the system. You do not describe each individual particle inside the system with a separate wave function, but you describe all the particles with exactly the same wave function because they are all behaving simultaneously. So the wave function psi is, when we come to the discussion of superconductivity, this will come in a big way, but the entire superconducting state is described with one single order parameter, one single quantity which describes the superconducting state. And this superconducting order parameter, one is the amplitude part and another is, okay, phi is the phase of the superconducting state. Okay, so all electrons inside the system have the same wave function. All of them are in the same phase phi. Okay, the mod of psi square is, which is equal to sin square, is density of Cooper pairs. This is density of Cooper pairs. Now, if I apply a magnetic field inside the superconductor, okay, for example, around the vortex core, there is some magnetic field which is present around the vortex core, which the particles are feeling. This magnetic field does not affect the psi naught. The amplitude of the wave function is not affected by this magnetic field, but what the magnetic field can do is B can affect the phase phi of the superconducting order parameter. Okay, so for the superconducting order parameter which is present in the superconducting state, the magnetic field does not affect the amplitude of this order parameter, but what it can do is it can affect the phase phi. Okay, and it does not affect for each individual electron, it affects for the entire superconducting phase. So whatever phase is present in this region, the phase of that entire region is affected. Okay, and whatever is affected for one part is affected for the whole part around this region. Okay, wherever magnetic field is present. Okay, so with this consideration, let us go back and recall the expression for the superconducting current density that we had used, the Gordon's equation. If you look at the Gordon's equation for the magnetic field present, the superconducting current density is minus E by m psi of psi minus psi gradient minus mu E square by m a of psi square. Okay, so if the superconducting state is by a wave function psi, then the current density is in the magnetic field in the presence of a vector potential A is given like this. Okay, now we are saying that this around a superconducting state, the amplitude is not affected, but the phase can get affected by whatever magnetic field is present in a short distance around the vortex core. Okay, so let us find out what is the effect on that. Okay, before I go back, here E represents twice of E. Okay, and M is twice of M because it's a Cooper pair. Okay, and mod of psi square is ns. Okay, Now, so if I put in all of this here, okay, if I put in all of this in the above, and I consider, I take this gradient, then the gradient will just, the gradient on psi will give me a gradient of phi term. Of course, there will be an I term and so on. All of that will be present. So if I put in psi equal to psi naught e raised to I phi, then the gradient of psi term will give rise to a gradient of phi term, and there will be no gradient of psi naught term, because we are not considering that the amplitude is affected in any way. So when you do all that, and when you put all these terms in the above, Js will be h cross E by m mod of psi square gradient of phi minus 2 E square mu naught ns by m a. Okay, here this term is easy to see, because that is just the psi square, which is the density of Cooper pairs, and if you put E square is 4 E square, mass is twice of mass of electron. Okay, this is the mass of an individual electron, so you can also write it as me. You can put it as me also, doesn't matter. Okay, now this is the current density. Now if I go back to the path which I had drawn, okay, then for this path, if I define a dl along that path, I can integrate what is the net current density along this path. Okay, if I integrate that, integral js dot dl along the path c, where c is this path, which the green path which I had drawn for you. This is the path c along which I am doing the integration. Okay, integral dot js dot ds will be equal to h cross E by me mod psi square integral of gradient of phi dot dl bar minus 2 E square mu naught by me ns integral of a bar dot dl bar along the curve C. Now recall that the curve is far away from the core of the vortex. So how much is the current density which is present at the site of the green? So this green path is far away from the vortex core where there are no current densities. So how much is the Js at the Js on the curve is equal to 0. There are no currents which are far away from the normal core. So the Js on the green curve is equal to 0. As a result, integral of this term integral will be equal to 0. And consequently, you can show now, apart from this, you know that integral of, so let us, integral a bar dot dl bar over the curve C is integral of b bar dot ds bar over the surface S. So whatever is the area which is enclosed within, you integrate it, and this is nothing else but the total magnetic flux. This is the magnetic flux enclosed within the curve C. Okay, so enclosed within the curve C is this. So you can rewrite this as expression as, so this is equal to 0. So now you can start cancelling the relevant terms, and when you do that, you can show, apart from that, you can replace this mu naught by 1 by C. Okay, then if you do that, integral of hc by 2e this is the gradient of the phase phi dot dl bar, remember this is the phase. How much is this? This will represent how much is the change in phase. This is integral of b bar dot ds bar, which is the total magnetic flux. Okay, this is h cross. Okay, and this term integral, this is the net change in phase phi as one goes around curve C. So if I quickly draw the curve, okay, let's recall that you have this curve C, and what you have in the center is your vortex, and a little bit around that you have some currents which are flowing around this. Okay, there are some currents which are flowing up to a distance lambda. Okay, now around, so how much, if you go around this curve C, this integral, the gradient of phi dot dl bar is how much is the change in phase as you go around the curve C. Okay, what is required is that the wave function has to be single valued. Okay, so for the wave function to be single valued, okay, so this is changed, the phase has changed by 2 pi. From here to here the phase has changed by 2 pi, and from here to here the phase has changed by 2 pi. So integral of gradient of phi dot dl bar, the change in phase has to be integral multiple of 2 pi for wave function psi, this is a superconducting wave function psi, to be single valued. You have to change the wave function by 2 pi, okay, integral multiples of 2 pi, so that you return back to the same point. The wave function returns back to the same value once you come back to this after crossing, after you have traversed this curve C, you should come back to the same point. Okay, and this gives you the condition that the total magnetic flux phi, so if you go back here and you put 2 pi, so in this expression if you put 2 pi n, okay, then you get the important relation that the total magnetic flux is equal to hc by 2e into n. Okay, for n equal to 1, the magnetic flux is given by some fundamental constants h by 2e. Okay, and this is called as the magnetic flux quantum. Magnetic flux quantum. Okay, which means that the flux which is enclosed within a given vortex is integral multiples of, it is n phi naught. Okay, so this is, you can write this as equal to n phi naught. Okay, this is n phi naught, this is n phi naught. So it is integral multiples where these are fundamental constants. Phi naught is hc by, phi naught is hc by 2e, which is about 27 10 to the power of 7 meter square. You can also convert it into Tesla meter square by, you can also convert it into Tesla meter square. It will become 10 raised to 15, 2.07 into 10 raised to 15 Tesla meter square. But the most important point out here is that the magnetic flux which is enclosed by a vortex, inside a vortex, is not any arbitrary magnetic flux. It is in integral multiples of this quantity, which is the flux quantum. This is called as the magnetic flux quantum. and the magnetic flux which is enclosed by a vortex is integral multiples of the flux quantum. The lowest energy flux quantum is n equal to 1. The lowest energy has n equal to 1. So all vortices have a single magnetic flux quantum enclosed within them. So now you can see from where 2E is coming. 2E is coming because of Cooper pairs. So if you measure the flux quantum and you can show that this value, because H is a constant, C is also a constant. So if you find out the charge which is circulating to give this flux quantum, then if the value turns out to be twice the charge of the electron, you know that it's a Cooper pair. And in fact, the proof that there was a Cooper pair was by showing that the flux quantum which is present inside a vortex is integral multiples of this quantity h by 2e. It is not h by e, but it is h by 2e. And this proof that the flux is in integral multiples of h by 2e is what proved that there are Cooper pairs. So just by measuring the flux quantum, they were able to prove that the charge carriers are not E, but the charge carriers inside a superconductor are 2E. So the vortex inside the superconductor is a complicated entity. It has a very rich structure. The vortex inside the superconductor has quite a rich structure. The superconducting Cooper pairs are going to 0 inside it. So this size is about twice the coherence length. The size of the Cooper pair is about the size of 2 xi. And there are superconducting shielding currents which are circulating around this vortex. So there are superconducting shielding currents which are circulating around this vortex, and these are spread out over a distance which is twice of lambda. And inside the vortex it has a fixed magnetic flux. The magnetic flux, there is a magnetic flux which is present inside the vortex, and that magnetic flux is a constant amount which is hc by 2e. Okay, and this is the structure of a vortex. In type 2 superconductors, you create these complex structures where there is a magnetic flux in the core and there are screening currents present around it. And this is the structure of a vortex in type 2 superconductors.